You're listening to the SEO Mindset podcast. Now, we are not your typical how to do SEO podcast. No, we are not. With the help of our guests, we cover those all-important topics around career development, personal growth, and mental health for those working in the SEO industry. You got to be working on your own internal algorithm, like what we did there. So, if you like the sound of our podcast and you think this is a bit of me, shall we crack on with this week's episode? Well, hello there, and a very warm welcome to the SEO Mindset podcast, where your hosts are myself, Sarah McDowell, and my ever so wonderful friend and Zen queen, Tazmin Suleman, with episodes going out every single Thursday. Don't say we don't spoil you. This week, me and Tazmin are discussing about the importance of setting up an intentional work day or an intentional work week. In this episode, we talk about what that means, why it's important, especially in SEO. And we, like every episode, we give you practical tips and strategies to help you implement and create a more intentional work day and work week. Before I play you the episode and the fabulous conversation that we had, just a reminder about how you can support me and Tazmin. We are set up on Buy Me a Coffee. Huge shout out to everyone who has already done that. There is a link in the show notes, and a one-off donation would be lovely, absolutely lovely, because obviously there are running costs involved in a podcast. And so if you would like to support in that way, that would be fabulous. Another way that you can support us is by making sure that you are subscribed for free on the podcast playing platform that you use, whether that is Spotify or Apple. That way you can get notified whenever there is a new episode ready for you to listen to. And while you're there, why not give us a 5-star rating or review? Tell us how we're doing. Tell us if you like us, we're that needy. Right, so without further ado, let's get chatting, or let's get talking about being more intentional with our workday. Tazmin, are you super excited to be recording a podcast with me for the SEO Mindset podcast?
Always, Sarah, always. I've never not been excited.
Be very, very awkward if you were like, nah, I've been dreading this all day, actually, Sarah.
Yeah, get a move on, Sarah.
Get a move on. I mean, something to address is we are recording this episode at 7:30 at night, and we've both not had our dinner. So
I'm very hungry.
We apologise if there are belly rumbles in the background. It will add to the listener experience. Like, you can be there with me and Tazmin more so because you can hear our belly rumbling.
My belly will not be rumbling. Thank you.
You seem offended that your belly would even rumble.
I've given it a talking to and told it to be well behaved for another 35 minutes till we finish recording.
So, with that in mind, about us being very hungry, should we just crack on with this week's episode, this week's topic?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So I want to talk about creating an intentional work day when you work in SEO. Does that sound a bit of you? Does that sound like that is a good topic?
Well, I think, there's so many conversations around this about how to be intentional, maximizing your productivity, energy, all of that. So I'm assuming we're going to talk about all of that?
Yes, and I want to stay on that. So I want to start by asking you the question, Tazmin. And if I said to you, what does an intentional work day mean to you? What does it mean to Tazmin?
Well, I'm going to go a little wider because it's more of an intentional week rather than an intentional day.
Oh, you going rogue already, Tasman? We're talking about planning a day. You're like, no, we're doing a whole week.
Because I want to do different things on different days. So there's part of it that's always the same. So, when I wake up, when I go to bed, what I do once I've woken up, once, as I'm winding down, that's the same every day. And my afternoon prayer time, that's always blocked into my diary. So in my Google Calendar, I have an ideal week. I've created a new calendar called Tasman's Ideal Week, and that's got start work, end work, wake up, go to bed, prayer time, lunchtime, that sort of thing's already there. It's orange, in case you wanted to know. But other things. So I got into a bad habit recently where I would be really busy on a Saturday, and then on Sunday I'd get the groceries in, and then I'd do meal prep, and then I'd feel really sorry for myself because then it was time to plan the next week, and I hadn't had a break, and I thought, stuff this for the game of soldiers, not doing this. I'm my own boss. I can decide what I'm going to do. So what I'd started to do was Monday would be a light touch, but Monday afternoon is where I would meal prep for the week. And that would be in work hours because that is also part of my work. It's my contribution to my household. So Mondays would be like that. And what I like doing is if I'm going to do podcast work, I will do it on the same day. I'll do it all on one day because I find it really difficult going from coaching a one-to-one and then doing a bit of podcast stuff. I find that difficult.
So, in the second part of this episode, we're going to get into the hows. And what would be really interesting is to know your viewpoint on there. But I suppose to start with, it's about being succinct with, what does an intentional workday look like for me? Or if you want to do a whole week, that's absolutely fine. But for me, having an intentional workday or an intentional work week is like being intentional with what I want to get done and being more intentional with my structure and being more intentional with how I build up that day or how I build up that week. So that's how I would like sort of put all of what you have said, but put it like in a more succinct, quick, that is how I would explain what.
I see what you mean now.
Yeah. Is there anything else that comes to mind as I've said that?
So it's about knowing what you want to get done and
Yes.
allocating it in a certain manner in order to be able to get that stuff done and not get to the end of the week feeling exhausted and unproductive and basically a bit rubbish.
Or even at the end of the day and you just be like, crikey, what did I do with those 8 hours? They just seem to whiz by. And so we're talking about being really intentional with planning that day and planning what you want to get done. And before we go into the break, I just want to touch on why it's important in SEO. Why it's important that we are more intentional. And a couple of things that come to mind for me is working in SEO is exhausting. We have to be so reactive. We have to be on the ball. We have to up our game because there's so much going on. Google's changing what it's doing. Like behavior is changing. There's different technology. There's different tools. It is so exhausting. There is so much to do. So if we're not intentional, we don't have a plan, we can easily get derailed and we can easily get pulled into different areas without really wanting to or without that being in our intention. It's also important because of mental fatigue. Whenever I see the word fatigue, I always have in my brain, don't say fatty gay, don't say fatty gay. Because that's...
Where did you get that from, Sarah?
I'm a very visual person and there's so many times. And I'm a very literal person. So if you look at how the word fatigue is spelt, it looks like fatty gay. Sounds like some sort of, I don't know, French thing. But anyway, it is French. It's fatigue French. Anyway, I'm derailing. My ADHD brain is firing off on all cylinders there. But when you work in SEO and other industries as well, you are switching into different modes. So you might be deep diving and researching into something. You might be really analytical. You might be being really creative. You might be having to be coming up with different content ideas or concepts. You might have to be people person. You might be speaking to lots of different people. So it's really important to be intentional to address mental fatigue. Working from home also, or remote working, also brings its challenges. I love working from home. And I tend to get more done since working from home. And, work fits around life rather than life fitting around work. But of course, that can bring its own challenges because we might get sidetracked or there might be different things going on in our homes. And just to say, more broadly speaking, mapping out an intentional work day or an intentional work week helps to bring more control, and it helps you to figure out what you need to achieve in that day and that week, and it helps to reduce stress and anxiety. It helps to reduce burnout. So those are some of the things that straight away come to mind for me. What about you, Tazmin?
When you were saying that, working in SEO, it's a job in itself, keeping up. But if you're then a freelancer where you don't have a manager to say, this is what we're doing on Monday or Tuesday, or this is, I want this reporting done at this time, you've got to put that structure in. Otherwise, you could either not get stuff that you need to get done, or you would be working all hours. So there has to be some sort of structure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because it's really hard to get that balance right, because we're all our worst critic, aren't we? We're always thinking that we're not doing enough, or we can do more on a certain thing. So yeah, of course that's going to cause issues, and there is more to work. No, I got this wrong last time I said this on the podcast. There is more to life than work.
Life.
That is the right way round, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I feel like there's something out what else would you like to say?
Years ago, way back when, probably before you were born, there would be, Tuesday is laundry day and Wednesday is baking day. And even then, there was an intention, even if it was somebody who was at home doing the work, of running the home, there was a structure even in there. If I look at my day, there is a structure, there's a rhythm created by morning prayer, afternoon prayer, evening prayer. So if you look at the things that work well, there is usually a rhythm and a structure involved in it. So it's little wonder that the more you can be intentional about how you use the time, the more effective it's going to be.
And it's also going to be more effective because something else that's come to my mind is you can be more realistic, because I am very, what's the word? Optimistic when it comes to what I can achieve in a day, in a week. Do you know what I mean? So
I absolutely do, because I am also guilty of that.
And I think loads of our listeners would be guilty of this. So if you are planning your intentional work day, it actually gives you the time and space to look at the time, think about how long that thing is going to take, and be like, okay, is that realistic? Because also it's not just about, and we'll go into this later in part 2, but it's not just being intentional with the physical work that you want to get done or the goals or what you want to achieve. It's also about looking after yourself as well, because we're not work horses. We we need to take a break. We need to look after ourselves as well. So doing this actually makes, like, it allows you to be a lot more realistic, and you're not setting yourself up for a fail as well, and it avoids disappointment.
I totally agree. I haven't nailed it, but but yeah, I feel like I'm getting closer and closer.
Well, we are all here for you and supporting you, Tazmin. And
Thank you, thank
yes.
you.
Right, I'm going to take us to our break now. And in part 2, we're going to be giving you practical tips and strategies on how we can be more intentional. But before we do, Tazmin, any final last wise words?
Well, I just want to tell the listeners that we will be right back. We are not going to go off and have our tea. We will be quickly a burrito. Don't know why we're saying that, because we don't like burritos.
I
Don't go
wouldn't be
far.
as strong as saying that I don't like burritos. It's just not my go-to because they're quite stodgy and quite a lot going on. But yeah, we won't be going and having a 3-course meal.
Absolutely not.
This break. Hey, we'll make enough money one time that we can have a chef on standby. And then in the break, they're like, oh, here you go. Here's some food.
Here you go.
Here's some nutrition.
I don't need a chef. I want someone to touch up my makeup in between. Like they do on the TV. Yeah.
You look fabulous, Tazmin.
I'm going bald here, look.
No, you're
losing
not.
my hair.
No, it's all good. Right, come on. I'm going to...
back here.
Yes.
Let's get this done in the next 20 minutes and we're done at 8 o'clock.
That's very intentional, Tazmin. I love it.
Hi, Tazmin here. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Be more visible, earn more, but also take care of your well-being and have work-life harmony? Well, I can help you because I'm offering you a free 30-minute consultancy call. Together we can go through where you want to be and how to get there. Simply click on the link in the show notes, fill in a form, and I'll get back to you.
Sarah here, just quickly popping on to remind you of how you can support the podcast. You can give me and Tazmin a one-off donation. We are set up on Buy Me a Coffee. There is a link in the show notes and we'd be very much appreciative of that. You can also subscribe to the podcast. So in the show notes again, you'll see a link where you can subscribe on your preferred podcast playing app, whether that is Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple, whatever you prefer. And whilst you're there, why not give us a cheeky 5-star review? Yeah, SEOs, you know how algorithms work. So all the lovely reviews that we can get will help the podcast. I hope Tazmin is there and she's not eating some wonderful dinner.
Stuffing her face with nachos.
Oh, is that your go-to?
I love nachos.
What have you got on these nachos?
I've got red onion, chili, cheese, tomatoes, guacamole, sour cream. I don't need any meat on it.
No,
that's good enough for me. Coriander, fresh coriander, without fail.
I do like, so I'm all on board with everything that you said, but I make if I do say so myself, a quite banging vegetable chili. And we use lentils, chickpeas, black beans. We put other veg in there as well. And it makes a lot. We're talking, what's that word that's just gone out of my mind? Batch
cooking. I've not had Sarah's chili. She talks about it a lot. I've not been fed it. Maybe next time I come to Worcester.
So usually you could, like, we have chili with rice or potato. Tash did it again.
You
I've
did
done
it
that again
again.
on a podcast. I told Tash
I nearly
about
apologised to Tash, and I thought, why am I apologising? I haven't done anything.
getting you two confused. Tash goes a little off-piste and has pasta with her chili, which, yeah. But what I do like is also put in a pitta, or you could use that as a
Nachos.
topping for
That
nachos.
would be
But
good.
anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. In part one, we talked about what we mean by being more intentional with our workday. We talked about why it's important and all those wonderful reasons why we need to do it. So now I want to get into, how do we create an intentional workday? How do we actually do it? So first things first, I would start by energy mapping. And I don't know if we've talked about energy mapping, or maybe we've talked about energy. We've talked a lot about energy. But a big part about being more intentional and looking after ourselves and getting more out of our day is being aware of when we are most energized. Are you more energized in the morning? Are you more energized after lunch? Maybe it's even the evening. We've got flexible working hours now. Are you more energized? Are you a night owl? Do you get so much done in the evening? And also think about energy when it comes to the different tasks, yeah? So what tasks energize you and what tasks drain you? Because mapping this out and getting more aware about this helps you to then plan your day and week, because you can spread out those tasks that drain your energy. You can get more done of the things that help gain your energy, but you can also plan your day so you're working the most efficiently when you need to, if that makes sense.
Absolute sense.
Next thing is, think about your structure of your day. What's really important is, how do you want to start your day and how do you want to end your day? And it might also be, how do you want to start your week and how do you want to end your week? So for example, could you get into a morning routine where you get up, you shower, you go for a walk, you come back, you have a nutritious meal with a cup of coffee, and then when you're finishing your coffee, that is when you are reading the most up-to-date news in SEO. What's going on? What has Google done differently this time? What's the next thing that we need to all be aware of? And as important as your morning routine is your end of day routine, because I think what a lot of us do is work until we finish, we shut our laptop, and then it's bedtime, or we're not really thinking about our end of day routine. So how do you want to end? What do you want to get done? What do you want to achieve? So think about that in regards to your work, or maybe that is like, that's the last time that you check your emails, or is that when you're connecting with someone? Or do you want to finish your day by, I don't know, trying to connect to more people that are more aligned with you? Do you want to read? Whatever that is, have that end of day routine, because then it will help your brain switch off from work and help you be like, okay, your body and your brain knows, I've done my end of day routine. Now it's over.
Yeah.
Next up, look at your calendar and plan your days and put time aside for deep work. Put time aside for when you have got 2-3 hours where you haven't got calls, where you haven't got appointments, where you haven't got other things that you need to do, where you can focus on getting a lot of work done. Like maybe there's a big project that you need to really get your teeth stuck into, and you need to be in that, you need a good few hours to get done. So have a look at that as well. And then I'm not very good at this. So many times I don't have a break Yeah. But breaks are really, really important. And I'm not just talking about a lunch break. We need more breaks than your lunch break. You need to factor in, I don't know, after 45 minutes of work, can you take a break? I think with the Pomodoro technique, you do it in like chunks of 25 minutes, don't you? But your brain can only focus on so much for like a limited time period. So make sure that you've got breaks. Something that I like to do is between calls, make sure that you've got like half an hour buffer or an hour buffer between then. You don't want to be going in back-to-back calls. That's just not going to be helpful for anyone. But just make sure that you've got breaks in your intentional work day. And then once you've got all these components, it's then about putting it all together into a structure or flow that makes most sense for you. Tazmin, what am I missing, or what are your thoughts? What's coming to mind?
So, like I was telling you earlier, for me, flitting between one thing and another, I find really difficult. So if I'm working on something to do with the coaching, and then I've got some podcasting stuff, and then I go back again, I like that rhythm less than if I say, right, today's podcast day. I'm going to plan the episodes, or I'm going to, crunch some numbers, or I'm going to do some of our strategy work, whatever it is, or some of our live stuff. I like doing it in one day because I'm in that zone. The other thing, if I'm having a meeting which I know is going to be a little heavy, so it could be one of my one-to-one clients, I will then buffer. So, I'm going to have a little bit of prep time before it, then a break of even 5 minutes just to clear my head, get myself into that zone for the client, finish that, and then again, give myself a bit of a break. And then any write up. So some of my clients, that I do a bit of a write up at the end, and I'll do that straight after, because if I leave it, then I'll forget, and that's good. So those sorts of things I do. You talked about deep work. Now, I've not tried this, but I think it could be really good. Supposing tomorrow morning you're going to write a presentation or write a talk. Do the framework today, even if it's a very loose framework. Because what happens is, apparently, your subconscious works on it overnight, and then when you do the work the next day, you've already got a bit of a head start. So
Oh,
that
I like
works.
that. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I
oh.
think we should both try it and tell each other how it went. End of work day. So I used to do my win jar at the end of the day, but now I do it at the end of the work day.
Okay. Okay.
So my win jar is now by my desk rather than my bedside table. And then, just remind myself that, okay, tomorrow, what am I going to do? And that's end of work.
Mm.
But I'm now being more intentional about my evening routine. So brushing my teeth, doing my skincare, doing my journaling, doing some reading, and that's to sort of like detox from the day. And so many of my clients have been saying that they're struggling with sleep. I'm looking for a sleep expert. There's anyone out there who knows a sleep expert or is a sleep expert? Please come, because I think it'd be a really good episode to have.
So I'm not a sleep expert, but I am good at sleeping.
I'm good at
Loads of
sleep.
people have commented about like so unfortunately poor Tash struggles with sleep, and I remember when we first got together, it blew her mind how quickly I could get to sleep. Like literally, she was like, we were talking one moment, you turned over, you put your head on the pillow, and then you're off snoring. I mean, I don't snore. Maybe I do snore. I don't think that's an issue if you're snoring. But anyway, yeah.
Same.
We haven't talked about sleep, have we, on the
No, we
podcast?
haven't
So,
really. No.
if you are
Yeah.
listening to this podcast and you are an expert in sleep, or you have an experience in getting your sleep under control, let us know. Get in touch.
So, similar to you, Hussein says to me that you'll be sitting in bed and you'll ask me a question, you'll put your head down, and before I've even answered, you've fallen asleep. So now I have to be really intentional to stay upright until he's answered, and then I can go to sleep. But yes, a lot of my clients have been struggling with sleep, and having this evening routine has really helped them.
Love it. Love it. And then the last thing to say as well is just experiment. So those who are worried about putting this intentional work day plan, routine, week together, because what if it doesn't work? Like they're a bit nervous about committing to something. This isn't set in stone. This is something that you're going to be playing around with. You're going to be putting together. And after you've tried this intentional work day or work week for so long, you're going to be able to see, okay, what is working, what is not working, what do I need to change? These things can be flexible. These things can change, these things are adaptable, but just have a go, experiment with being more intentional, because no one's an expert at doing something first time. So have a go. Yeah. See what happens. You don't have to carry on doing anything that doesn't sit right with you.
I have one more to add. Pre-book one-to-ones with your manager. If you're a manager, make sure your team are pre-booking the one-to-ones. Any team meetings, any set development time, because what happens is if you don't do it, life takes over and it's, I haven't got time for that one-to-one. Pre-book them 3 months in advance. They can move, but if they're in the calendar, there's more chance of you doing them.
Lovely. I love that. Yeah. So very important, very important. I now want to do a bit of a humble brag. I want to be a bit smug. Tasmin, look how long we've been recording for.
I know. We
Bag
we
on
are
30. Wow, we're just under 30 minutes. I'm very aware that once I've put this podcast episode together with the intro and all of that bits and bobs and the different stuff that we've got going on, it might be long. The listeners might be like, no, Sarah, you've actually been talking for 35 minutes.
Yeah. Well, you've got 45 seconds to wrap up to get into your allocated time zone.
Well, let's know, because I don't want to take away from this episode. So I'm going to ignore. If we go to 32, that's still 32.
That's
so,
it.
Tazmin, main takeaway, please.
The more intentional you are about your time and what you're going to do with your time, the more intentional your life will be.
I can't beat that. So, yeah. I'm just gonna
because your life is made up of it's made up of lots and lots of days. So if you're not intentional, if you want to be intentional about life, start with your day.
Yes, agreed. You got to start somewhere, haven't you? You've got to start somewhere. And yes, that is us. That is time. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you are eager to get working on your intentional work day, your work week. I hope you've inspired, and just have a go. Start with, if there's one thing that I want you to do straight after listening to this episode, or you can do it tomorrow. I'm not going to hold you too much there. But just start with energy mapping. That is going to help you be a lot more intentional, because once you know how your energy behaves, different kind of work and all of that lovely stuff, this will then help. It underpins everything else. So if there's one thing that I want everyone to do, is that energy mapping, please. If you enjoy what me and Tazmin are doing with the podcast and you want to support us, please give us a one-off donation on Buy Me a Coffee. Massive shout out to everyone who has already done that. But basically, you can go to a platform, you can go to Buy Me a Coffee, and you can give me a one-off donation, because that massively helps with covering costs for this podcast. Of course, we love doing it. We love bringing it to you guys, but it takes time, it takes resource, and more importantly, it takes money. So please, 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 if you enjoy what we're doing and you want to give back and you want to support us, that is the best way that you can do that. And then another way is, please do follow this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And again, more importantly, your SEOs, you know how algorithms work. So give us a rating, give us a review, because that will help us as well. Tazmin, that is us. That is it. I want to say to you, thank you for being wonderful as ever. And I want to thank our listeners for joining us. And yes, everyone, until next time, take care of yourselves.
Take care, everybody.